I hated Civil War. I hated it for one very specific reason that has stuck in my mind since the film's release 2 years ago. Now, what was that reason? It's probably the most fundamental and important part of any movie. The main character's goal and the resolution of that goal, the climax. In this video, I'm going to talk about what the goal is in Civil War, how it's explored throughout the film, and why its conclusion potentially undercuts all of Garland's intentions with this film. Civil War is set in a fictional America in which the president has taken a third term, and military groups across California, Texas, and Florida are trying to stop him. The character's goal in the film is clear. A photojournalist and journalist, Lee and Joel, want to travel through war-torn America to interview and photograph the president before the war is over and he is killed.
I'm gonna photograph the president. Joe's gonna interview him.
DC is falling and the president is dead inside a month. Interviewing him is the only story left.
Garland doesn't just tell us that this is the goal, but also shows us. In the very first seconds of us meeting Lee's character, she's taking a photo of the president on her TV screen. Two others, veteran journalist Sammy and aspiring photojournalist Jesse, end up joining them. Jesse because she wants to be around her hero Lee, and Sammy because he's riding with them until Charlottesville, where the military front lines are. Now, when Joel first tells Sammy about this goal, Sammy calls it an offing oneself pact. So for our heroes to be putting themselves in grave danger in pursuit of this, clearly there must be some strong reasons, both personally and for the world at large, for our characters to need to do this, right? Right? In a screenplay, once the goal is set, it propels the story forward, driving the characters to take action and put themselves in all kinds of danger, giving the audience something to root for, and offering insights into the hero's psyche as to what this goal says about them. As the story progresses, Garland sets expectations for what the interview with the president might be like.
Mr. President, do you regret any actions implemented during your third term in office?
I'm not gonna softball him, Sammy.
In retrospect, Mr. President, do you still think it was wise to disband the FBI?
Passive-aggressive.
Sir, how is your policy evolving in the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
Now we're talking.
Just be sure you get the words out before the piano wire gets too tight.
Well, I think Garland is just trying to squeeze in some exposition here and also hint at the possibility that they won't get much time with the president before he's killed. It sparks the imagination, making viewers wonder what kind of fruitful, insightful, and impactful journalism will be taking place at the end of this yellow brick road. As Lee and her gang traverse the states, they endure dangerous and traumatizing situations until, right before reaching Charlottesville, Sammy is shot and killed. And just after this, the characters learn that the rebel military is about to attack DC, so they'll be too late to interview the president. This is a low point for our characters, with Joel saying,
"So you and I, we are too late. We missed the story. And Sammy didn't even die for anything good."
Lee, Joel, and Jesse end up deciding to keep trying and manage to make it to the White House. But Lee is killed in the process, so only Jesse and Joel get to the president. Here, we finally have our climax.
I need a quote.
Don't let him kill me.
Yeah. That'll do.
And that's it, the movie is done. Based on my research, there's a couple things it seems Garland was trying to do with this movement. The first is showcasing his perception of journalists, who he believes are meant to simply document events, with Garland stating, "The film is about journalists doing old-fashioned reporting. And in old-fashioned reporting, you remove bias and simply give an account of what happens within a window of time, and the reader can make their own inferences on what is reported." The second is to expose the fascist president as a pretty pathetic guy, with him begging for his life. This is directly discussed in the movie.
What do you think he'll actually say if I do get a mic in front of him? Not much. The ones that get taken, Gaddafi, Mussolini, Ceausescu, they're always lesser men than you think. At the end, he'll let you down, Joe.
And the third and final objective is, as Garland said, quote, "On some level, I wanted a story where a writer and a photographer get the iconic thing, which is what reporters are chasing. But with all that in mind, I find this climax incredibly hollow, because it fails to even suggest what this resolution means for one, the characters internally, and two, the world at large. What impact does this quote and photo of the president, which Lee and Sammy died for, have on the characters? Zip. All we see is that Joel looks a bit disappointed. We have no context on what achieving this goal means on their personal or career lives. And what about the impact on the world? Also nothing. Despite this being a movie about journalists, there is not a single scene in all of Civil War that explores or even hints at the impact of journalists' work on the world.
When you were in college, you took the motherfucking legendary photo of the Antifa massacre.
It's actually the opposite, with Lee at some points talking about how her previous reporting about the brutalities of war in other countries hasn't stopped America from falling into this mess. While Garland might think he's presenting these characters as commendably unbiased and achieving an iconic feat, it actually shows them as pretty shallow people, which I think is summed up well in this interview clip from Pod Save America.
So this is a movie about journalists, and you've said it's about the importance of objective journalism. I talked to a journalist walking out of the screening who said she was surprised because she felt that it was actually critical of journalists and that the characters seemed to care more about getting the story and the shot than they did about anything else, even their fellow citizens and their country falling apart all around them and people dying. What do you say to that?
Well, I'd say that's a subjective response, and that's typical of responses to stories when you offer them up. That is to say, my subjective response is that it's admiring of journalists, and hers is that it's critical. Number one, a journalist's motivation can get separated from the product of what they do. But the product of that journalism has a societal function. So as an individual, they may or may not demonstrate great sort of, moral certainty and ethical behavior and stuff like that. It would vary person to person, but that would not negate the product.
The importance of the product isn't negated because of the character's motivations. It's negated because we're never shown why the product is important. A screenplay needs to give meaning to this moment of achievement, but in Civil War, Garland never gives meaning to the work of journalists. This isn't something you can rely on audience members to do themselves. This is a fictional world, so you need to show why journalism matters. I believe that ultimately, the ending is unsatisfying due to Garland's views on journalists. Rather than showing the journalists as people who probe, question, and investigate in pursuit of truth, they simply just document the events. This makes them entirely passive characters, with no motivation other than to stand in the corner while other people do stuff. Now, why do I think we got the ending that we did? Because Garland is a genius that I don't understand, or...
Then the process is always the same with me. I write a first draft very quickly. This was probably like a week and a half, something like that. I write first drafts quickly because very often it doesn't work out. So I don't want to spend 6 months or 8 months or a year working on it because it can all be wasted time. And actually in this case, the shooting script and the first draft are almost exactly the same. There's virtually nothing has changed really.
I've spent more time working on this video than Garland did writing Civil War's script. Civil War didn't get made because it's a compelling, well-written story. It got made because of Garland's name recognition and the marketing potential of an American Civil War. I believe that if Garland actually spent a year on this script, writing draft after draft and prioritizing development notes, we would have actually gotten a good movie that was insightful and emotionally cathartic. I'll end this rant with a plea to my fellow aspiring screenwriters. Take your time. Seek out harsh criticism, write dozens of drafts, and please make that final moment in Act 3 mean something. If you agree or disagree, feel free to sound off in the comments and subscribe for more.